Mm, um, mm. Guess who's back in the house? Here's click clack in the bow. Fine, fresh, feminine style to 11 in body like wow. Happy Saturday, guys. I hope that you're having a amazing Saturday. I am completely sore. I've worked out for 2 days with my really good friend Dominic, who's a dancer. So I'm like, everything hurts. But it's a good hurt. I just watched AJ and the Queen, episode 5. And this episode is titled Mount Juliet, which is in Tennessee. The episode can also be titled, or it could have a subtitle, The Bob Mackie Episode. Hi, Raheem. Good afternoon. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for watching this live. And so this could be titled The Bob Mackie Episode. And the themes of this particular episode are nostalgia. We're in this very quaint, um, classic Americana city, Mount Juliet. And there was a side story that I wasn't expecting. And so, uh, gay desire, but how are people who are extremely similar or femme attracted to each other or not attracted to each other? So I really appreciated that because I think that's a crucial conversation that needs to happen in the gay community. And so we're in Mount Juliet to visit the Bob Mackie episode. And I'm curious if everyone knows who Bob Mackie is. And I think I only know of Bob Mackie through RuPaul. Bob Mackie designed many of Cher's costumes on the Sonny and Cher show in the 70s. And he also designed a number of costumes for other iconic women who were in the entertainment industry during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I'm also familiar about him because I went to an art and design school, which happened to have a fashion program. He is one of the mentors for the fashion program. So that's really why I know a lot about him. And he was extremely hands on with the fashion students. Like he would come, I believe, every single day for the fashion. And so that's also how I'm familiar with him. And so um, this town, it's actually a backlot, which I didn't realize that. I actually thought they filmed in Mount Juliet, but it's a backlot, and this is the same lot where Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, was filmed, and that's one of Rue's favorite movies of all time. And Elvira was also a guest judge on Drag Race, and you could just feel the love just pouring and radiating out of Rue's pores from working with Elvira. And so, in an interview, RuPaul stated that while he was there filming, like he couldn't get Elvira and the movie out of his mind because everywhere he looked, he was picturing scenes from the movie. So that was really cool. So it's really about nostalgia. We have this town, it's very Americana, about wanting to relive things in the past we can't. And we really see that with AJ's character. AJ is wanting to relive her childhood where her mother was nurturing and caring, where she wasn't addicted to drugs, but she can't go back to that particular childhood. And she really wants to reclaim the love that she experienced with her mother. And we see that when she wants that similar feeling when she wants to purchase a puppy at a pet shelter. And because she can't, she sees a girl selling like Girl Scout cookies, but in the show they're called like Little Lilacs, due to, I guess, copyright infringement. And she basically asks to buy the cookies and the girl's uniform, and she's trying to buy or sell these cookies in order to pay for the dog. Also, we see that later on in the episode when she is supposed to be sleeping in the trailer. However, she is at this same home with the mother and daughter, just staring into their picture window, into their, it looks like their dining room. And Ruby finds her and they start talking. And she's just captivated by this image of this mother and this daughter. And she has this narrative in her head that she thinks that's what love is. That's what I experienced with my mother. And Ruby tells her, you know, that's not what I see. I see this, I see the daughter pretending to enjoy the mother combing her hair, and the mother kind of like oblivious of the feelings of the daughter. And so I really loved this particular storyline in the episode, because we're showing more complex emotions that are really difficult to convey, and they shouldn't be surface. So I really appreciated this. Kudos to the writers, RuPaul, and I forget the other writer of this episode, but it was really good. And so the mother and daughter actually live across the street from the Bob Mackie Museum. And so the owner of the museum and Ruby, they're really kindred spirits. And they are drawn to Bob Mackie, and they love all of the women who Mackie has designed gowns for, especially Diana Ross. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. One of my favorite people. And so they specifically talk about Diana Ross performing at the Felt Forum, and actually meant to Google where that is. I don't know where that is. But this was a performance, I believe Ruby stated that this was a performance in the 80s. And you can see RuPaul coming out through Ruby talking about his love for Diana Ross. And so I love that, because that's where Ruby has a beating heart through RuPaul and RuPaul's knowledge of Diana Ross. Diana Ross is one of RuPaul's favorite entertainers in the world. He can recite every line from her movies. He can quote her songs. He can reference particular outfits that she has worn. And that's when I I think Ruby shines best when RuPaul is translating through her. And the owner of the museum lets Ruby wear a Diana Ross costume. And they actually say where Diana wore the costume. It was at a concert, but it wasn't the Felt Forum costume. It was a different concert. And this was this particular image of Ruby in the Diana Ross costume with a Ruby-esque red curly wig was one of the first images that was released for the project. And so I'm so glad that we got to see this beautiful image of Ruby as Diana Ross. And it was such a cool moment. And so Bob Mackie, oh, and all of the garments that are featured in the Bob Mackie Museum, which unfortunately isn't real, it's fictional, it doesn't exist. Um, they're all actual Bob Mackie gowns, and two of them are Bob Mackie gowns that were specifically designed for RuPaul about 20 years ago. And it's incredible how Ru can fit pieces from 20 years ago. I can't wear anything that I owned 20 years ago. Um, it's 30 weight, 30-pound weight difference. Um, and so I love that. And so we really see this beautiful, dreamy performance between Ruby and the owner of the Bob Mackie Museum, and they perform Endless Love by Diana Ross and um, Lionel Richie. And again, this is where Ruby shines as RuPaul performing as Diana Ross. It's really cool to watch. I think this is like RuPaul like in her home every single day, just lip syncing to Diana Ross. And so there's a moment where the owner of the museum gets a little too touchy feely with Ruby. And Ruby ends it saying, like, I'm not attracted to you. I have no feelings for you. And Ruby storms out. And this was such, and they actually don't specifically address it, but I was actually interested in how we see desire portrayed, because if the owner of the museum, who is very kind of femme in appearance, and there's a photographer who's doing a collection of photographs called Gay Face. And so I would say that the owner has gay face. And so someone who you can easily identify as gay, but Gay Face, the collection is more about that. But I think at first it started out as that, photographing people who are pioneers and have been working out and proud in various industries. So check it out, Magnus Hastings. It's a really cool collection of images. You can see it on his website or on Instagram. And so um, I think if the owner of the museum looked more like Damien, Ruby's ex-boyfriend, she would have been all about it. But because they are similar in the way they present themselves to the world, that they weren't going to hook up. And we also see that in the scene with Damien and him going to a gay bar, that all of the men in the bar who they're not talking to each other, They're all in their individual worlds, but when we see Damien enter into the club, they all break their neck to look at him and give him this intense stare of desire, to hopefully attract him, um, to them. And so I think that's more of a conversation that needs to be had. There's a poet who actually interviewed a number of guys about maybe like 8 or 9 years ago. His name is Yolo. And he has this great video on YouTube about, would you date someone, or would you date yourself? That's what the video was titled. And every guy said no. And it was, most of the guys that he interviewed were individuals who wore more femme, and so a femme guy wouldn't date another femme guy, um, which is very interesting to me. And so, one thing that I thought was very interesting with this episode is that this is the first episode where we don't get a drag race alum, or any other drag queen in this particular episode. And so we just have the main characters front and center. And so I really appreciated the editing of this particular episode, because we got more about Ruby and we got more about AJ, and we actually see the day where AJ is evicted. Well, AJ and her mother are evicted from their apartment, and I think this is the day where AJ starts to changes her appearance to be less feminine and try to present as a male or a boy. And so we see how this eviction transform transforms her, because she sees her belongings on kind of like the front of the brownstone in boxes, and um, there are like sanitation workers who are throwing her belongings into a waste truck, and she's in tears crying. This is the first time we really see her expressing emotion. Like, typically she's just kind of like emotionless, dead in the face, not caring about anything. And this is the moment where we see the separation from Amber Jasmine to AJ. And I loved seeing that, because it's all about character development. So I really appreciated that. And we get a little small clip of Lewis and the detective. They have hooked up, and which is very unexpected. Um, and there's a really cute moment of them in the bathtub together in in Ruby's apartment. And so it's actually a great juxtaposition between the beginning of love, hopefully love, and what has happened at the end of a relationship. And so I loved the contrast of Lewis, the detective, versus Ruby and Damien. And so, well done to the writers. I love that. And so, I am excited to hear your thoughts about episode 5. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Who really shined during this episode? And this was the first episode where Lady Danger really stood out to me. She had very few lines. Her and Damien had very few lines, But I realized that I wasn't watching Tia, the actress, but I was getting Lady Danger. And actually didn't realize that previously, but it was her reaction to Damien that really made me realize what she is actually doing a phenomenal job. So kudos to her. So I love just the brief moments that we got of her in the hotel room with Damien. And so just let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And if you haven't already, please like and share this video. And shout out to the new subscribers. Thanks for subscribing. I really appreciate it. There is much more to come to this channel. So stay tuned. And if you are interested in high fiction, um, literary fiction, please support me. I'm a writer. My debut novel is called A Love Like Blood. It's available on Amazon, and you can purchase it on Amazon. There's a link, um, the pinned link. You can purchase it there. And you get to know more about who I am as a writer. So hopefully, I'm going to finish episode 6 today and post the review sometime today. So thank you all for watching. Besos.